we're now going to get into my favorite part of the show based on the one experience we've had. Let me land. Last week, you saw me victoriously land my hot take against Sean floundering.
You see how fake news happens in real time? Misinformation just out on the airwaves.
That norm, just trying to build that norm. But this week, Sean has got a hot take that he's pre-prepared. So let's get into it. Sean, what is the hot take?
Right. So I know I'm going to get absolutely flamed for this, but let me land, right? I don't think that left-wing parties in their public messaging should call themselves socialist and actually use that political terminology.
Interesting. Build that out for me, please.
Okay, cool. So what is socialism, right? It's the social ownership of the means of production. So what does that actually mean tangibly? Well, it means that obviously you're passing policies that actually are geared towards the community, right? So you're investing in things like the welfare state, public education, controlling rents on housing, and so forth. And so what we're seeing, and I think there's an interesting dichotomy in messaging that I've seen from the Green Party and your party, is the following. On the one hand, your party is talking about galvanizing a socialist movement, right? Where I suppose the calculus is that because they're so open about the fact that they want to bring socialism to this country, even though, it's defined differently by a lot of people, that they want to get support in that way. However, the Green Party now, they're not actually saying on their public or political messaging, or I haven't seen it being said, that they're explicitly socialist. Rather, what they're talking about is actually just being able to control bills, put food on the table, that type of stuff. And I think it's not a problem being a socialist. That's definitely not what I'm saying.
Tower Hamlets.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I can hear it. BMW likelihood.
In a social authoritarian country, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, we need the social ownership of his whip.
But what was I saying? So yeah, it's not a problem being a socialist. That's definitely not what I mean, right? We both align ourselves with a lot of socialist principles. It's just that to what extent is this actually cutting through to the electorate? I think it's a bit of a hindrance.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from, but are you losing sight of the North Star?
Go ahead.
Should we be making those sort of semantic concessions rather than just staying firm and true to our course? If we are socialists and we think that socialism should be something that's normalized within public discourse and be the predominant way of doing politics, should we not stay clear to that? Should we not be explicit? And is it not a bit duplicitous to try and Trojan horse our ideals in under different guises?
No, so I don't think it's the case that what I'm arguing for is to say that we're not socialist, right? So you can be very honest about the fact that you are socialist. So if a politician or leader sits down and they get questions, are you a socialist? Then you say, yes, of course. But one of the big problems, and something that we referred to earlier in the podcast, is this idea of the irrational voter. What do voters actually care about? Voters don't care about, or most voters don't care about political theory or these kind of theoretical concepts or ideas. They want to understand how things are going to better their life. And so actually, even taken from the Zoran Mamdani method, albeit it's a mayoral election, so it's a bit different, the big posters wasn't let's bring socialism here. It was let's lower bills, make rent affordable. And I think that's the more effective messaging, which I think the likes of Zara Sultana, not to explicitly criticize her, but she's missing that. Okay,
so I get what you're saying then, is that we should do socialism by all means, but understand that part of politics is communication. It's not just strategy.
Precisely.
Okay, I think I'm broadly in agreement with what you're saying. I do think that there's a little bit of different political and cultural context between the US and the UK.
Okay.
In the US, Red Scare, Reaganomics, all these things like, you cannot get away with saying I'm socialist. McCarthy, they'll literally just say, you're a communist, like, off you pop. Whereas in the UK, I do think the UK should be a bit more proud of its socialist heritage, of like the NHS, of things like this, of like the weekend, of all these sorts of trade union achievements. So I think in the UK, there isn't that same like negative connotation with socialism. I think for a lot of people, it is something they want to hear loud and clear. But I do think that's a really interesting point you bring up. And I guess like the thing that we can build consensus on there is that parties and political leaders should be a bit more aware of how they're perceived. And I guess what we're trying to bring to light is that your policies are good for a lot of you politicians out there, but you're not packaging them well because you're kind of out of tune with people's impression of them, and you're trying to force onto people this homo politicus, if I could offer a portmanteau, where people are totally rational political agents, when in fact it's kind of the secondary job for the politician is not only to come up with the policies, but also package them in a way that I like.
Yeah, precisely.
As the electorate. And
I think that is actually one of the principal problems of the quote unquote left. And because it can cement into a bad branding issue, right? So even the idea that, to kind of move away a bit, this idea of the Green Party, people still in their minds have an idea of them as just basically tree huggers. And
like the connotations with socialism, maybe in the UK, with like the Corbyn, like propaganda against him, is that socialism kind of means poor governability. Like they're not really governable.
Exactly, and it seems a bit unserious and silly. And even though a lot of us understand that and know that, I think those of us who do understand and know that should actually not be applying pressure as well for them to co-opt themselves under the kind of socialist label explicitly.
I kind of like that. I get what you're saying. Me personally, I kind of think he landed that. But as always, like everyone in the comments, let us know if you think he landed it. Let us know your opinions as well, because that's a bit more of a nuanced one. That's not really cut and dry. So please do, don't DM us personally, because that is cyberbullying. But definitely get in the comments below. #engagement.